into your physics program at Stanford University. You quit school to start a company called Zip2, a media company,
right.
Which you sold a few years later for a paltry $307 million. Then 4 years later, eBay buys PayPal. Is that correct? A company
Yes.
that you established or helped to establish as one of the creators?
With a few others, yeah.
And now you've taken those two enormous successes and you've set your ambition on space. How did you go from online payment systems to building a spaceship, essentially?
Well, when I graduated from college, there were three areas that I thought would be most impactful to the future of humanity. The three were the internet, space exploration, and then changing the economy from a mine and burn hydrocarbon-based economy to one which is solar electric, which I think is going to be the primary but not exclusive means of energy and transportation.
Have we screwed it up so badly here on this planet that our only hope is to build a new civilization out there?
No, not at all. Actually, I'm quite optimistic about the future of humanity on Earth.
You are?
Yeah, absolutely.
So what is the benefit to humanity then to inhabit Mars, which is really what is an ambition of yours?
Well, I think if you consider two paths, one where we're forever confined to Earth and the other where we're a spacefaring civilization out exploring the stars, I think the latter is far more exciting and will result in a richer and more diverse human experience.
How can you do that better than NASA?
You know, NASA is a customer of ours. So there's, I think, a confusion in the public mind that perhaps a company like SpaceX is competing with NASA, but in fact, NASA is a customer of ours. So we're actually providing services to NASA, launch services. And when the shuttle retires in 2010, so starting in 2011, SpaceX's rocket will replace the space shuttle in servicing the space station with astronauts and cargo transportation.
The name of your rocket ship is called the Falcon Explorer, is that it?
Well, the Falcon 9 lifts the Dragon spaceship, and this Dragon spaceship is what goes to the space station and then returns to Earth. And the Falcon 9 booster rocket takes the Dragon spaceship to space and drops it off. Then it goes to the space station, docks with the space station, transfers astronauts or resupply, cargo, whatever the case may be, and then the Dragon spacecraft returns to Earth. The news articles in the late 60s, early 70s, the expectation was that by now, in the 21st century, we would have a moon base and probably even a Mars base. And I think if you'd asked anyone at that point in time whether we would be unable to go to the moon and not have been to Mars, I think they would think you're crazy. The only thing I would sort of argue with is that I don't think we should be going back to the moon. I think we should be focused on Mars. I think we saw
You think that's a mistake, focusing on the moon?
I do think we should rather go. I think we should rather be focused on Mars.
This ambition to explore space.
Absolutely.
As an entrepreneur, there's quite a bit of competition out there. There's Jeff Bezos with Blue Origin. There's Richard Branson with his Virgin Galactic.
Right.
And I'm not talking about NASA. How is SpaceX different? Well, let me ask you this question.
Yeah.
Who is your competition?
We have no serious competition.
None.
Not presently. Well, and I think none that I'm aware of. It's not in the same league technologically.
So you're not particularly worried?
Certainly not about. No, certainly not about that. No. The things that worry me are we going to make a mistake? But none of the competition that I'm aware of.
So generally, you're worried about what's in front of you, not the other guy. In fact, you probably don't think about them in terms of how they criticize you or what they think about you. What's the big goal here? What's the long-term plan?
Well, the long-term ultimate objective, the Holy Grail, is we would like to help make life multiplanetary. That's really what we'd like to do. We certainly would like to help make it happen.
It's fair to say you've made a fortune.
Yeah, I think so, by any reasonable standard, yeah.
And, those who work in science probably understand your trajectory, but there are those who are watching who would think, if I made that money, I'd sit on a beach, I'd drink beer, and I would just watch the sunset, kind of like a Corona beer commercial. Have you ever thought about that as a career option?
I find that really pretty boring, so that would be torture. If I had to do that every day, that would really be pretty awful for me. Well, I guess I really need to be preoccupied with something, and if I'm just sort of sitting there relaxing, I can only do that for a very short period of time, and then it becomes unbearable. For me, it's always about, does what I'm doing matter? If we are successful, I wanted to help build it.
Well, you touch upon something that's interesting, is that that benefiting humanity is a very integral part of your criteria, no matter what you're starting up.
I mean, we're committed to succeed, really. But if we do fail, I would hope that we at least add to the body of knowledge such that those who follow may make fewer mistakes.
Here on Earth, you are establishing a presence, certainly, with Tesla Motors. Tell us a little bit about that. This is an electric car company, correct?
Right.
And this is no hybrid car you could buy on a car lot. This thing goes from 0 to 60 in 4 seconds. Is that right?
Yes, absolutely. 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. It's faster, better acceleration than any Porsche currently in production and any Ferrari except the Enzo. And it's twice the energy efficiency of a Prius. So it's you really have the moral high ground, and you get to leave the Ferrari guy in your dust. There's something I should point out about Tesla, which is Tesla's first car is a sports car, not because we think the world lacks for a sports car, but because it is the right entry point for the market. If you have a new technology, the right place to enter is high unit cost, low unit volume. Just as when a new cell phone comes out, or a new laptop or some new thing, it tends to be expensive at first because they're figuring out all the issues, and it takes time to optimize. And then over time, that technology will become cheaper and cheaper. And so the Model 2 of Tesla, and maybe I'm leaping ahead here, but Model 2 of Tesla is a $49,000 4-door, 5-passenger sedan. And that's going to be obviously a much broader market segment that can make use of that car. And then Model 3 is intended to be around a $30,000 price point, and so that's really affordable by almost everyone who can buy a new car. So the idea is to drive to mass market as rapidly as possible, but only at the pace at which the technology matures. So noteworthy. But the interest in Tesla is not from the perspective of the world needs another car company. It's more from the perspective of we have a very important environmental problem that needs to be addressed. It's going to be one of the most significant issues of the 21st century. And the only way to really get around that, in my view, is really with an electric vehicle. And then you need to pair that up with a zero-emission power generation method, such as solar power. Mm-hmm. I think solar power is going to be a really big deal.
Tesla is not a hybrid car.
Tesla is pure electric.
Pure electric. One of the primary complaints about hybrid vehicles is they're not fast enough. You seem to overcome this.
You won't have any trouble with this. In fact, really, there's something uniquely better about electric vehicles, which is that the torque response is immediate. So if you want to pass someone, the response of the car is very immediate. It's more fun to drive an electric car than it is to drive a gasoline car.
Mm-hmm. So these cars, the Tesla Roadster, the first issue of the Tesla Roadster, available in 2007.
Yes.
In the spring, the summer? How do you get on the waiting list?
Well, you buy the car, you basically put down a deposit. And we've actually...
Can you do that through the web?
Yeah, we'll have, by the way, customer centers all around the country. So we'll have one in LA, one in the Bay Area, Chicago, Miami, where somebody does want to see the car in person, take a test drive, or see the car being worked on. We have this idea for the way that the cars are serviced that it should be a really pleasant experience. So we have somewhere between like a Starbucks and an Apple store typically get if you go into a dealership.
Have you heard from Toyota? Have you heard from General Motors and Ford saying is the company for sale?
Nobody's actually made a formal offer, but the interest, I think one of the biggest values that Tesla can provide is serving as an example to the rest of the auto industry, because right now the auto industry, the big car companies believe that a viable electric vehicle is not possible, and B, even if it was, people wouldn't buy it. Mm-hmm. So we need to show that neither of those are true, that the technology works, that people want to buy it, and that will be the most effective way of really driving change in the auto industry is by serving as an example in that manner. And
I think that you're doing pretty good. I think you've done very well.